Invincible Villains Perfect for DC heroes. Now, I already did the reverse of this video a couple months ago, DC Villains Perfect for Invincible characters, and I've been wanting to make this version for quite some time. And something we do need to take into consideration, and what I do change within these videos, is the DC universe, yes, is far more powerful than the Invincible world. But just for the sake of it, let's imagine the Invincible world is at least on a level playing field with DC. So let's start with Superman, and the two invincible villains I decided to give him are Thragg and Dinosaurus. Now, there's so many different Viltrumites you could have gone with: Omni-Man, General Craig, Conquest, even Anissa, but I wanted to go with the top dog. There's so many fun ways you could tie in Viltrumites with Kryptonians. These could be two races that have had relationships with each other over thousands of years, or maybe you could even do something where Viltrumites are extensions of Kryptonians. Maybe they're ancestors of some sort, and they've just become maybe more of a evil Kryptonian, an ancestry that has focused more on conquest and ruling the galaxy. You could see the downfall of both the Kryptonians and the Viltrumite worlds, in which the aftermath leads Thragg trying to pick up the pieces and not just use Viltrumites within his empire, but to also use Kryptonians as well. The only thing with Thragg is that a lot of his usage would probably become very similar to how they use General Zod against Superman. However, there could be some sort of family tie-in to make it feel much more personal to Superman. You could create this storyline in a different dimension of DC, of course, where Superman might be half Kryptonian, half Viltrumite. Perhaps he had more in common with the Viltrumites than he knew, and now it's the idea of battling that mentality and how he deals with his potentially changed heritage while defeating someone from his heritage as well. He has already witnessed the end of his own people in Krypton. Does he now have to foresee the end of the other half of his people, the Viltrumites? Then I went with Dinosaurus because I think he is just one of those somewhat silly villains that Superman kind of had himself dabble within the golden and silver age of comic books. However, Dinosaurus is not silly in method. He's super dangerous and very powerful. This is a character that deems humanity as a failure and wants a hard reset to actually save humanity, but essentially start from scratch. Through mass destruction and the utmost radical ideas of the ends justify the means, Superman has been down this path before with so many of his villains. How many times has Superman been posed up against a villain who does bad things for good reasons, or at least in their mindset, that's what it might be? Dinosaurus might see Superman's mercy as a weakness, which gives him even more of a reason to go after Superman and to try and stop him. Now for Batman, we have Machine Head and D.A. Sinclair and his Reanimen. Starting off with Machine Head, what is one more criminal gang lord in Gotham? At this point, when big-time players like him show up, nobody should be surprised. Batman is a genius in every sense of the term, no matter what you're dealing with, if it is detective work, technology, engineering, science, whatever it is. To test Batman's genius, he has quantum computing mechanics. This is a guy who literally has a head and a brain that can see potential futures and battle Batman one-on-one with particular tech. Machine Head could also add a little bit of the cyberpunk nature into DC and Gotham, maybe giving you a little bit of a flavor on what the world might look like by the time Batman Beyond enters the picture, or maybe even Batman only faces this guy one time because he makes his overall debut, his most important performance, in front of Batman Beyond. That's just an idea though. Keeping him as a Batman Bruce Wayne villain, you could bring in an idea where he does bring the Order into the fold, and the Order has been something that involves him and Penguin and Black Mask, the Maroonies, the Falcons, any other crime boss you can think of in Gotham. They've all been part of this secret secret crime syndicate for a very long time. So Batman doesn't just need to find a way to bring down Machine Head. He also learns that the Order has been something in operation over Gotham for who knows how long. As for D.A. Sinclair and his subsequent reanimen, this is something right up the alley of Batman and what Gotham City sees on an everyday basis. Batman is used to going up against sick and twisted villains who do some of the most vile and heinous and cruel things known to mankind. Just like having another crime lord make his place known in Gotham, is having a sick and twisted psychotic doctor in Gotham any different to what their regular normal day is like in that city? No, not really. A story revolving around D.A. Sinclair and the Reanimen with Batman wouldn't just bring in a lot of detective work that Batman would need to pull out. It would also bring in a lot of autopsy work. Now, of course, that would be seen a lot more in the GCPD, but Batman's gonna need to dabble in that a little bit as well. This is just full, terrifying Frankenstein horror that is once again very fitting for the Batman mythos. And I think what also really makes this villain interesting for Batman is bringing up his no-kill rule. How does he deal with the Reanimen? What are they viewed as? Are these just walking dead humans with cybernetic implants that make them stronger, faster, or are they people that are capable of being saved? How does Batman solve these questions in high intense moments, maybe even while fighting them, to give him the best possible answer on how to deal with the Reanimen? I think there's another really interesting story that you would have to delve into with DA himself. Perhaps he is someone who worked at Wayne Enterprises. So these unethical, horrifying experiments were happening under Bruce Wayne's company's roof. That's not a good look. Now for Wonder Woman, we have Battle Beast and Universa. With Battle Beast, you're bringing in potentially one of the greatest gladiator matches that we have ever seen in both these respective universes. And with respect to their universes, Battle Beast is one of the most powerful beings in all of the Invincible world, whereas Wonder Woman is one of the most skilled and deadliest warrior princesses in the DC world, let alone someone who has a god lineage. She is a goddess herself. This also brings in a little bit of mythology. Over the thousands of years of history, there's always these descriptions of beings or animals who are somewhat humanoid, but they have the face and the body of a lion or a bear or whatever other animal you want, and that's kind of what you're bringing into this with Battle Beast in a world of Greek mythology. Battle Beast's meaning in life is combat, life or death, doesn't matter. Whereas Wonder Woman has trained her entire life to be one of the best warriors. So Battle Beast is going to have a heyday with this. Even if he were to die, he's going to have a ton of fun going up against Wonder Woman. It also depends on how it works out in the end. Would Wonder Woman resort to killing the Beast, or would she deny his request for a rightful death, which would just infuriate him even more? Now for Universa, I wanted to bring two goddesses to the table. And the only difference is this time is now Wonder Woman has a chance to go up against an alien foe. Universa would come to Earth realizing we have a insurmountable amount of energy to use for her own dying people and dying world. I do see Universa being a character that would probably be redeemed as time goes on, but at least for their first time fight, she could potentially have alien powers and even her alien staff that would do things to Wonder Woman that she can't even really understand. It's affecting her and hurting her in ways that she can't go up against Universa in a full frontal assault the way she can with other villains. Or you can even scratch that and take an idea where Wonder Woman actually needs to take this fight off world, and for one of the very few times we see Wonder Woman trying to solve a problem for Earth while the whole story takes place on a completely different planet. That would definitely be something new and fresh for her character. Now I changed it up a little bit and we're going into Zatanna, and the two options here are Robot and Master Liu. Obviously with Robot it has to be the villain version of him. He needs to hate Zatanna for being everything that he potentially hates in the world. It's magic versus science, which is always an interesting concept. I think at this point as well, Robot would have to be so intellectual. He's capable of finding countermeasures or maybe even hijacking spells and sequences of spells that Zatanna would try to distribute, and she just can't get it done with whatever he's doing, whatever countermeasure he found. It could be something where every time she says a spell, she says it backwards. He's doing something where he's making her say it the normal way, frontwards, and that's why she's not getting her spells out. I don't know, something insane that only Robot would be capable of doing. For Master Liu, I think it would be more so about the insanely powerful hidden dragon he has in his possession, but I do believe he would try to use his chi mastery to also disrupt a lot of what Zatanna is capable of doing. Winning through brute force or raw magical energy probably wouldn't win the day for Zatanna, especially if the dragon came out. And I think a way she would try and win this fight is to completely disconnect his connection to magic as a whole and to potentially strip the dragon away from Liu's possession. How she would do that, I'm sure there is a crazy magic explanation out there, but if anyone's going to find a way to do it, Zatanna can. Now we look at Flash, who I decided to go with Doc Seismic and Powerplex. For some reason, when I looked at Doc Seismic, I just see a Flash villain. I think a lot of his abilities would be well suited for the speedster. Seismic's personality is mainly featured to be a joke. Somebody who's always complaining and threatening the downfall of society's pillars. Flash would have fun with him and not take him seriously, which might make him really upset and pissed off and more powerful in the process. Now, with all these crumbling streets and massive earthquakes, buildings toppling over on one another, Flash is going to need to think 10 steps ahead, and good thing for him, he's a speedster, he can do that. Seismic would need to have some sort of countermeasure against the Flash that would stop him from always running around, fleeing danger, saving people, and maybe attacking Seismic himself. He would need to use some sort of shockwave ability that would snap the Flash out of being able to run so fast. Of course, the Flash would have to win the day, but Seismic could be a character that offers the Flash a glimpse of destruction that he has never seen caused by any of his other villains before. Now for Powerplex. Flash is one of the more empathetic characters of the DC world, might I even say more than Superman sometimes, and I think going up against someone like Powerplex would be very hard for him. This would be someone that all he wants to do is help and to change his viewpoints and his mindset, but Powerplex is so caught up in the grief and the anger that he holds, he just can't see a way out of that dark tunnel. No matter how many times they fight, how much damage Powerplex might cause in all of their battles, and how much he seems to hate the Flash. Flash understands this is a dude who's trying to bear with an impossible loss and just simply does not know how to handle it. A therapist would not be enough for this dude. Flash would need to feed him too much energy, and whereas Powerplex can get insanely powerful with too much energy, it might be a risk he's willing to take. Maybe to even give him a taste of the Speed Force to a point where Powerplex simply just can't handle it and basically explodes under the pressure, leaving him completely knocked out. The Flash would have to completely overwhelm him. And then last DC character for this video, but certainly not the least of them, I gave Green Lantern, General Craig, and Solar Man. Now, General Craig is insanely powerful, very smart and strategic as well. Maybe not on the level of Thragg or maybe even Omni-Man, but still good enough to go up against Green Lantern, of course. With the Viltrumites being a problem in the galaxy of the Invincible world, now in the DC world, these are a race of people the Guardians of the Universe and the Green Lantern Corps would consistently and constantly have their eyes on. The Green Lantern Corps would view Craig as a war criminal and a threat to galactic peace, along with the other Viltrumites as well. But you could even do something where the Viltrumites, along with Craig, they do blame a lot of the fall of the Viltrum Empire, possibly on the Guardians of the Universe not interceding and helping them with their people's downfall. In this world where they exist with DC, Craig would be able to go up against a Kryptonian, and at that level he'd be able to take out Green Lantern constructs. That's not to say that Green Lantern is weak, but it's going to be a tough battle. It would probably be necessary to have multiple Green Lanterns against Craig himself. Now for Solar Man, this is just another iteration of somewhat an evil Superman, a hero of a bygone era. It is said that Solar Man over many years has kidnapped and captivated and tortured many other very powerful beings across the universe. And maybe Solar Man finally makes his way to the Green Lantern Corps where they are his next target. This is once again another Kryptonian level strength character that would be giving Green Lantern a lot of problems, to the point where you would need more than one lantern to solve this. This is a lot of where the principles of Green Lantern would come in. The willpower would need to be a main focus, especially when you have someone like Solar Man who's all about power. That's all that matters. Solar Man could be seen as this galactic boogeyman, someone who only has myth and legendary stories told about him, but all of those stories are bad. They paint him in a poor light, but all of those stories happen to be true as well. And it's not just about beating Solar Man in this case, it's about beating his terrifying myth, the legend of galactic fear that he's been able to spread. But there it is, invincible villains that I think would be perfect for DC heroes. As per usual, there are so many other invincible villains and DC characters to look at, so many different variations of these matchups and battles. Make sure to let me know in the comments below of the matchups I made, which ones are your favorite, and also create other matchups that I didn't get around to in this video, and let me know what you think would be entertaining to see. That is all I have for you on this one, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and until the next time, I will talk to you all very soon.